Hey everybody, how's it going? Christian from Treasure Town here, and today I'm super excited. We're joined by Ben, the Coin Geek. That's his YouTube channel where you may recognize him from, and he also is at Old Pueblo Coin Exchange. So, thank you so much for joining us today, and I'm excited to speak about kind of your history as a coin dealer, your involvement with coins. Then we might go into a little bit of a market update as it's heating up, and that's not kind of from the dealer's perspective, side of the coin coin universe that I get to be involved in as much on a day-to-day basis. But thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So if you want to maybe start out by just explaining a little bit about what you currently do, and then after that, maybe we can get into the background and the journey. But if somebody just said kind of what do you do, maybe a 60-second or 90-second overview, how would you respond?
Uh, so the quick version is that I currently am the owner of Old Pueblo Coin in Tucson, Arizona, and I've been here for 23, going on 24 years. I've owned the place for about 4.5, going on 5 years. And we stumbled onto YouTube a few years ago. I was just kind of messing around to start with, and then to be honest with you, the pandemic really kind of amped it up for us to where I started doing YouTube videos pretty much daily. So if you go to the Coin Geek on YouTube, you can find our videos. We put about six videos up per week. It's almost like a vlog. You can follow along. There's different storylines that kind of repeat themselves. So I'm busy, running a coin shop and doing the YouTube stuff and just having a fun time with the coin market. It's good.
That's awesome. So, 23 or so years, that's definitely a long time, certainly longer than I've been alive. So, when did that start for you?
I,
Like, how did you
I
get
was waiting for that one.
coins?
Well, we can pretend that we're the same age or almost the same age. I mean, most people half my age can grow twice my beard, so it's okay.
I don't know. I don't have too much going on there, but maybe I'll have to attempt a beard in November or something.
Yeah, no shave all the time, right? Wait,
Yeah.
no.
Mm. But but so you just kind of went for it as a young person, or did you kind of work in a shop or do a little bit as a hobby and then kind of realize it was something you wanted to do? What was your thought
So
process?
yeah, I mean the Genesis story is that when I was about 10, right next to our house there was a little swap shop, which is like a just like a swap meet that would open up on Saturdays. And the guy who would run it, he had all kinds of stuff. Just imagine going to the thrift shop. And I actually have it now. People who watch my channel have actually never seen this, Christian. So you get the exclusive. This is actually the box that I bought when I was 10, and it was full of coins. And so it's kind of fallen apart, but I mean, it looks like a treasure chest. And what 10-year-old boy with a box full of coins that looks like a treasure chest? I felt like Calvin and Hobbes, and there's treasure everywhere. And
That's
that got me into coin collecting instantly. So, and then from there, I just kind of started getting into the hobby like most people do. I went to different coin shops in town. I went to coin shows when my dad could take me. And then in college, I started working here at Old Pueblo. And then I just stayed on after that. And I've been ever since.
great. Well, I mean, certainly a lot of ups and downs, but that's a pretty cool. Thanks for the little, some would say Easter egg, like something kind of hidden away that in this video. So that's awesome. Always fun to hear about, the real genesis because people get into the hobby in so many different ways. And I think back, I think might have it out here somewhere, and I rarely mention it. Maybe I've said it once, but this is the first penny folder that I had. I think I was probably like six, and I would go through for common date, Lincoln memorials with my dad and try to fill it out. So that was for me fun to have that back there as well.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, this was mostly full of world coins, which piqued my interest immediately. And then I started getting into Indian head pennies. And that was really, I think, in my, teenage years, that was kind of my focus was Indian head pennies. It was kind of my passion for a while. And then beyond that, you get into so many different routes that you go down and so many different coin collecting rabbit holes that I've tried to put together several different series, but the other one that I really enjoyed putting together was actually a Washington quarter series in my 20s. It was fun because, I was really focused on raw coins that were very high grade with a lot of luster and a lot of color to them. Well, they could be blast white, but some of them had phenomenal toning and stuff. So, but that was something else that I'd gotten into pretty extensively. But it runs the gamut because you see so many different things in the coin market. Um, there's so many areas you can get into. So, but I'd say that I don't know that I've ever specialized per se in things, but as a generalist, as most coin dealers are, you kind of have to know a little bit about everything to be able to function well.
Definitely. I was going to ask more about that, but something kind of piqued my interest that you said, mentioning that you were kind of collecting, it sounds like into your dealing years doing that set. Like, is that kind of a challenging thing for you to do, or maybe it just comes naturally and you have a good kind of base to a sourcing base in terms of, do you kind of collect and separate the dealing, or do you kind of have it as inventory where if a really good price came along, you'd sell it? Or how do you kind of navigate as a full-time coin dealer, maybe enjoying the collecting aspect as well?
So that's a good question. So I didn't, really early on, when I first started here, it was part time, and so I think you've probably had a little bit of that experience also working part time somewhere. So the dynamic's a little different because you're still really a collector. The
Yeah.
the thing that's interesting for me is that I feel like I've always been a collector. So I think that's one of the reasons I connect with people on YouTube is because I don't see myself as a dealer per se, even though I've been doing it for a long time. I kind of have the same vantage point, I think, as a lot of collectors do. I know the passion, I know the drive, I know the many different things that get you interested. But to actually answer your question, because I wasn't answering your question, uh, I when it comes to today, I don't do much of what I call collecting. I've had a number of dealer friends that have told me, it's very difficult to do actual dealing, owning a shop and collecting at the same time, unless you're very specific about what it is that you're buying. So oftentimes I'll tell people on my channel that if you see things that I like to keep, they might be cheap items that really don't affect the bottom line. Something that's just kind of a novelty, something that's like related to coin collecting, like an old album or something that's cool. There's lots of fun things that you can collect that are historical, that are not expensive. The problem is a lot of people who are vest pocket dealers that want to become dealers, uh, they make the mistake of really falling too much into the collecting side of it, and they don't really focus enough on the dealing side, and pretty soon they have nothing but inventory that they won't sell at market price because it means more to them than anybody else. So you have to learn to become a dealer. You really have to learn to just, the market is what it is. Some things you sell to loss, some things you sell to profit, but you sell them, and that's the key.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's something that's not super unfamiliar from my end. So, but certainly, just having the perspective, I'd imagine, and being active about realizing you might be a vest pocket dealer. For those of you who might not know what a vest pocket dealer, probably referring to somebody who's just doing it as a side hobby. They don't have a brick and mortar shop, and they're kind of often collecting as well along the way. That's how I'd describe it, at least. I don't know if that is how you would describe it, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, so really when it comes down to dealers, like you use the term brick and mortar, which is a modern term, right? I mean, that's within the last 10 years, that's a new term. And because now you have a lot of people that are strictly online. Vest Pocket is literally, they used to have these really cool little coin wallets and stuff, and you could pull it out and have like 16 coins in it. And you'd see the guys literally like pulling it out of their jacket. And that's where the term came from. They were really collectors, but they were also, they would trade coins frequently enough to where other dealers would get to know them kind of as a quasi dealer. They may, oftentimes a vest pocket dealer will specialize in something, but not always. Not always. So think of some guy who's going to trade a lot of coins, but does not have a coin shop per se. And
Sure.
I still see that from time to time. I still see guys that are, they they act like a coin dealer, but they don't have a shop. They're not. married to going to shows. They go to some shows. They're semi-retired usually. It's still the hobby, but the hobby helps fund them, and they're not afraid to sell stuff. And people who are just collectors, they don't often really understand how to sell things. Like a lot of collectors have a hard time parting with anything. And so collectors can very easily turn into hoarders. Just don't judge based on all the stuff on the wall back here. That's not what I'm talking about.
No, that's funny. And that I had no idea about the I figured it was like pulling it out, but I didn't realize that there's the literal, people having these mini coin wallets or whatever. So that's a neat anecdote and shows maybe my youth, but also just, I for the people watching, I learn all the time. That's one of my favorite things about doing videos. And maybe it's less so being so experienced when you're doing videos, but I find myself, I'll make a video and I'll have to go do my research beforehand, and 60% of it is stuff that I didn't know. So one of the things that you had touched on was the idea that they might not be specialized, or they may be specialized, and I wanted to ask you, do you have any specialties? Maybe it goes back to your days doing Indian head cents or Washington quarters, and then I'd imagine you really have to know a little bit about everything. But what would you consider your forte within the coin world?
So specialty, as it's defined by the coin market, I don't think that I would necessarily put anything. I don't think that I'd put myself in a category. I will say that when it comes to things that are specialized that I like and enjoy and are happy to own and resell, it would be Arizona National banknotes. That is something that is a pretty niche market, and depending on which form of English you like. Uh, but I like that stuff a lot, and it's the type of thing that you don't typically see. I don't know that I necessarily specialize per se, like I was saying, but that, and I used to collect Reformation metals. So metals related to the Lutheran Reformation, the Christian Reformation, with Martin Luther. So a lot of those would have Luther on them, or Melanchthon, or Zwingli, or one of these other guys. And a lot of those are pretty cool because it's a neat piece of history, and there's a lot of material out there on that. And but that's just something that's like a dirty little secret in the background. We don't talk about that in public. So
No, those are both. I mean, I imagine there's probably not a huge number of Arizona nationals floating around. There's, from time to time, we'll get something from Connecticut, but there weren't really any major banks in the state. So it was pretty specific as well. And then I'm curious on those. Maybe we'll do a little detour here. That's super specific, but with the Lutheran metals, were these being who is minting these? And I assume that's Lutheran. Was that like 1600s or 1500s, or what sort of a little more
correct.
background?
So you can, yeah, you can get them back to the early 1500s, and you can actually get some stuff. I'm trying to think of some of the different metals that are available, but they actually commemorating things. You'll see a lot of things dated ending in 30 or 17. So for two different dates on the specific to the Reformation. But so you can see there, some of the earliest metals are 1517 and 1530. But then you can see there's a ton of stuff from 1617 and 1630, which are actual commemorative coins. They're not just metals. So what's fun about that whole area is you can actually get metals, you can get coins. Germany, if you know anything about Germany from the 1600s, the catalogs are like this thick on that stuff, because each city, state, province, they had their own stuff that they produced, and it's a pretty fun area to collect. What's interesting is you can find stuff that's I like the artwork. I mean, I like the allegories on there. You'll have some things with like Noah's Ark on it. You have other things with maybe a palm tree. A palm tree symbolized one thing, or you'd have the Lamb of Christ symbolizing something else. You also had some really early pieces which mocked the Catholic Church and had the Pope one way, but when you turn it upside down, he becomes the devil. And so that was obviously extremely inflammatory from the time period. So, and some of that early stuff is pretty neat pieces of history that you can get into. So it's a rabbit hole no one wanted to go down.
No, definitely. I mean, it sounds, I was going to say, it's really a testament to the depth of coin collecting. That's what I like so much about it. Like you're saying, with huge catalogs on the German states, I'm just aware that they exist, and it would, probably take a lifetime to really understand, but there's so many layers. So that's why I wanted to probe a little bit more and hear about it, because I had no idea. And it's also, I took a small class, and this is probably just common understanding, but it was pretty important what was being put on the coins. They could be political statements, or they would be more important, certainly, than the newest commemorative coin, circulating commemorative, that the mint is putting out these days. But that might be a cool topic to
Yeah.
get into on an individual video basis as well. Is this so? This kind of leads me into a question. It's super specific. It's probably not the sort of thing where you just have this stuff flowing through walking in the door every day. So I'd imagine that a big part of it is online. What do you see as, are you like a buying location and then you're mostly selling online? Or do you do a lot of dealer to dealer at coin shows? Or is it a lot of relationships that you have online with other dealers? Or, how does, at a high level, without giving away any secret information, how Old Pueblo operates?
Yeah. So we traditionally, I mean, we're growing with the market and the hobby like everyone else is. So the shop was founded in 1982, and has been in Tucson near the University of Arizona this whole time, down Speedway. And so we've just kind of changed with the time. So we are on eBay. We do have our website up and running, and we do have a brick and mortar shop. And I'm getting back into going to shows a little bit more. We do have a long lineage of dealers we've dealt with for decades. So it's kind of like yes and to your question. It's kind of like everything. Um, if I could make it into some type of secret club with like an old school phone booth that you have to lift the handle and like it would turn around and you could go through like and get smart, I would do that, but we don't really have the funds for that. But we do have fun, and coin collecting should be fun. So, but we're kind of all over the place when it comes to the market. We use a lot of the different tools out there. We're also on Instagram. I'm on Instagram as the Coin Geek, but the store also uh, at Old Pueblo Coin is on Instagram, and so we throw stuff up there all the time that people can look at, and occasionally people do end up finding stuff to buy that way. But it's just been an ongoing process for us, especially over the last few years, where sometimes it feels like the world's completely changed in the last 18 months, and sometimes it feels like everything's still the same. So
Yeah, no, that certainly makes sense. I guess a side distraction. Then I want to get into the current market update. But you mentioned fun in coin collecting. What do you think is one moment recently that was related to coin collecting that was fun, or something that you enjoyed?
well, for me, just being on YouTube is fun. I have fun, making videos. I have fun interacting with people. So what YouTube has done for me is it's kind of given me another outlet for what I was already doing naturally, which is if you come in the shop and I'm in the shop when you're here, generally, traditionally I'm here bantering with people. We like to talk coins and hang out, and everyone ends up talking about other stuff that no one wants to hear about, and but it's the hobby's fun because of the people that are in it and the stories that are connected to it. And it's fun talking to guys who you have this camaraderie with around coin collecting. But lots of times there's little detailed stories that you learn and you hear from other people that also make it fun. And just teaching and educating is also fun. So to be able to talk to you and hear you say, I don't know anything about these, I really don't know Arizona Nationals. I just know they exist. Or I don't really know anything about Reformation Metals. I learned something new today. And that's like the biggest thing for me that's fun is when I post a video and I got guys commenting, I learned something. And that's a big deal. And I think to me that's a lot of fun. So I really enjoy that.
Absolutely. No, that's great, and that's basically why I started doing it. I enjoy the hobby. Great way to reach a lot of new people, and you get a comment saying, I started collecting with my niece, and now we have a fun time collecting together. Two new collectors, that sort of thing. That's like super
Yeah.
frequent, and it's crazy the reach that the YouTube algorithm gets the coin collecting hobby. So it's certainly a really fun place to be, I think, and you get to influence people maybe in a good way, or at least do our best to. But if you
Yeah.
maybe we shift over and get into the market update. I everybody's saying that the market is the most interesting it's been in a long time. Certainly, some of the inventory that I've been moving a little slower than I probably should has appreciated a little bit favorably in the past 6-12 months or so. What are you seeing in the coin market as some current drivers and just the state of things?
So, it's hard to really put your finger on the pulse exactly because there are lots of moving parts to the coin market. Um, Generally, when you see the economy kind of go south and you see metals go north, the coin market kind of comes along for the ride. And that's been true a few times since I've started doing this. So you saw it a little bit in Y2K, the year 2000. There was a big panic. So they were worried that you were being born probably. And then um, after that, then you had, of course, the market crash in '08, the housing market crash. And then you saw, 9, 10, 11, up through about, I think, 13, you saw that run up with metals. And the coin market kind of was along for the ride both times. This is really interesting because you have this combination of, uh, the pandemic, coming out of the pandemic, which I think has created um, a lot of pent up energy and demand. And it's created, I think, new collectors and new old collectors. So I think you have some collectors that are new to the market that were in the market 10 years ago, but they've just kind of decided, I'm sitting at home. I want something to do. I remember collecting coins. And so you haven't had shows open. And, you know, brick and mortar is one thing, but like dealers who just do shows, there are more dealers who just do shows than dealers who have coin shops. In my opinion, I could be wrong about that, but when I go, if you go to a coin show, most of the guys there don't have a shop. Most of them just do shows, and so those guys haven't really been traveling. Um, my biggest concern about it, is the dirty little secret of the coin world is that, a lot of this stuff I think is driven by mail order sales. These companies that pop up overnight, sometimes they're called boiler room dealers. They just pop up. They got a new fancy name. They got a new fancy website. They're selling on late night TV. And then what they do is basically, if the market for a coin is $100, they're probably selling it at their store or online for $300 or $400. And then what they do is that they get an order for 1,000 of them, and they only have like 5 on hand. They don't even have to stock this stuff. Now all they have to do is go into the marketplace where the bid is $100, and they say we'll pay 125, and all that stuff starts flowing to them. So when I see the market move this rapidly, where we were looking the other day, I made a video where we are looking at the prices in the last 6 months of just common date Morgan dollars, and MS63, I think, went from roughly like 50 to $70. You've got $64 going from like 45, $50 to almost $100 in the gray sheet. MS65 going from 135 to almost $200. And to me, that it's just a little weird, like to see the market move that high, that fast on that stuff that's that common. And so we'll see where it leads. I don't think that it's long term, whatever the run up is. I think that it's temporary.
That's very interesting. And I've certainly, some of that sort of thing is what I had in stock buying at 50, and now I get to put it in a grab bag for $70. I think I did that yesterday, and instead of putting it in for 60 or something like that. Not huge, but at scale. And a lot of these order, that's something I don't watch much TV, so but I certainly hear about it, and I'm sure that there's some just massive markups where you get people really kind of hurting when they go to resell or realize what they've done.
Yeah. So
Um,
these guys, not to be Debbie Downer, but to bring back the veil just a little bit. So these mail order companies, that's the old school term, right? Because they used to always be actual mail order. And today, the way they market generally is they get a hold of, especially of an old person, usually through a radio show or something like that. Hey, such and such gold group, and you got, put in the name of the radio host and you get a 5% discount. And these companies, they come at you and they say, well, if you buy 10 ounces of gold, you get a tenth of an ounce free or something like that. You know, but those companies, what they do is once they have a bullion wing and a numismatic wing. And what they do is they take grandma or grandpa and they say, hey, look, the bullion is fun, but collector coins are where it's at. And so they get on your direct mail order list. So sometimes if you see silver eagles that are priced on a website, and of course now they also just do this through website marketing, trafficking, they follow you on your phone. If you see something that's priced under market and this company is really willing to sell you a silver eagle for 25 bucks when it should be 35, that company is selling a loss leader. They're buying your name, they're buying your data, they're going to have your phone number, your email address, and they're going to direct market to you. And you're going to get bombarded with stuff that's like overpriced junk, overpriced. Let's put it that way. So that's how all that works.
wow. No, I mean it's that's certainly, yeah. I mean I know that it's going on to some extent because a few years ago when I was working in shops, you'd get people bringing in something they spent $10,000 for, and it's like marketed mint state 70 or proof 70 silver eagles, and you're paying them fairly when you pay them 30 or 40% of what they paid, sometimes less if it was, especially the
Yeah.
clad commemorative or clad marketed coins. Those, there's really no value and it's just the plastic around them. So but I
Yeah.
didn't realize that that was kind of the loss leading techniques with a
I
basic
think,
bullion.
yeah. And I don't know. I mean, that's just something that's out there that I always think people should know about. And, because I always think that knowledge and education helps defeat some of that stuff. But, it's out there and it's hard because you and I have the conversation and other coin collectors who watch this are going to have the conversation. But the reality is, grandma and grandpa aren't watching us right now, right? The people who are buying that stuff are probably not watching this video. Hopefully they are a little bit. Like I know that there's people who actually find a lot of information via YouTube. So it's always good to put the stuff out there that'll help educate the general public. Um, but most of the stuff that's out there on YouTube to educate the general public is gotcha clickbait type stuff, where it's not really oriented towards the collector. It's more like I just want to get as many eyeballs to watch this video as possible, and that's my whole goal. And that is in a nutshell what YouTube is. But YouTube's a great tool still because people find you who are actually interested in good information and not just gotcha information. So it's been good that way.
Definitely. No, I think that there's, you know, no specific names or anything, but there definitely is a variety of content, and that's why I think it's so awesome. With you making videos out there, people who have 20 years of experience. I mean, I feel like I've been doing coins for 5 or 6 years, worked in a shop, and know a bit, but certainly nowhere near what a lot of dealers know. But then the challenge is often those dealers aren't super technologically savvy, or just don't feel like they have the time to do YouTube or have no interest in doing it. When from a monetary perspective, it can be fun, but certainly you can do far better being a dealer full time. So I think that that's why I'm so encouraged by you and I think Dan at Coin Help You, and some of the other people who are bringing good content with good professional titles and good lighting and but really based on a strong numismatic information perspective. Um, but that's interesting that you say so. You're thinking that this is kind of like a transitory blip, maybe driven in part by COVID, and then things might go back to normal, assuming that there's no like precious metal spike going forward. Um,
Yeah, I do. I do think it's temporary, but what happens is that people get so caught up in the fear mongering on the news and all that stuff that goes on, and I mean, it's all the same stuff that, I mean, you keep this in mind, Christian, as you experience things. Keep track of how people are talking about this time period and how much everything is bad and everything is awful. And I'm like, you could be in Venezuela right now. Like, what are you talking about? Everything's awful. I plenty of stuff to complain about in America. Don't get me wrong. I understand that, but we've been down this road in many ways before. The the thing that worries people and the thing that helps sell gold and silver and then bring the coin market kind of on its coattails is a lot of the concern about what the federal government does with spending and things of this nature. And I understand that. I look at the checkbook and math, and I don't think it's great for everybody, but I still don't think that any of this is permanent. I just because especially when you see things spike quickly, it never strikes me as a permanent change. And that's been in any market that I've ever seen. I don't need graphs to look and see when the houses went up crazy fast in '06, '07, '08, that it wasn't going to stay there. I'm telling all my loved ones right now, don't buy a house. Just wait. And for coins, and so the natural question is, well, then, okay, but do you tell people not to buy coins? Well, honestly, I would tell people that if they have choices to look at things that have not shot up in value, because not everything has shot up in value. It's been very specific. The most popular things, especially the Morgan and Peace dollars right now, they're on a tear. Um, but there's plenty of areas of the marketplace that are still fun to collect that have not gone crazy gaga, and I think you can still really enjoy it. And so if you're worried about buying into too high of a market, it's fine to go ahead and tap the brakes and say, I've got other coins over here that will fit my collecting style and will fit my collection. Maybe focus on those for a little while the rest of the market can cool back off. And if you're in it just for the long run and you don't care, you've never looked at what the market price is, it's just what does the gray sheet say coins are worth today? That's what I'm buying for. Go ahead. God love you. Some people are a lot more impervious to that than others.
Awesome. Well, no, that sounds like great advice, and I think that we've kind of I tried to keep the interviews not extremely long, but certainly uncovered a lot of topics right in my mind, and maybe we'll film them directly here and then release them over a few weeks. But I've really enjoyed getting to know a little bit more about your background. Certainly interesting in terms of what's happening right now, and maybe if there's any closing message or something that we didn't touch on, kind of relating to the general overview, or maybe some sort of thing on the current market that you also wanted to hit on, or maybe there's we've exhausted the possibilities for now, but I enjoyed having you, and maybe you do have a closing message.
Yeah, don't ever say exhausted the possibilities, Christian. I'll talk forever. That's we can roll film. Yeah. No, really though, I appreciate having me on, and just if people want to see some coin content that is actually mostly collector driven, and you can check us out at the Coin Geek on YouTube. And I always we'll undoubtedly chat again sometime. I know that you've got a lot more specific questions, and I always enjoy talking coins, so I'm really happy to address as many different rabbit holes as we can go down. So thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching the video. I'd encourage you to like, comment, and definitely subscribe to the channel and connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I also have a website, treasuretownYT.com, where you should go so that you can learn more about coins as well as what's happening on the channel and possibly find a place to sell your coins and collectibles. I also want to talk about some of my other projects like coinmeltprice.com, which shows precious metals prices as well as the melt values of coins containing those precious metals, both US and world. I also have coinsmetalscards.com, which will develop into a full marketplace as well as a news source for coins, metals, cards, as the name might suggest. And then treasuretowncoins.com, which long-term will be my coin dealing entity separate from the channel. And lastly, whatsthegrade.com, which will be a stickering service for already certified collectibles where you can get a approval or verification of the grade on the holder. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you on some of my other videos.